So Nintendo recently dropped the long-lost Dragon Hopper and Zero Racers to the Virtual Boy library on Switch Online, which has been a monumental act of preservation that I never expected Nintendo to actually do. Oh, and even though this is a part of the NSO service, these games were easily dumped, so you can play them in an emulator, on 3DS, or on actual original hardware using a flash card if you want to. And while Zero Racers is a decently fun little sequel or spin-off to F-Zero, Dragon Hopper is easily the best game on the Virtual Boy. I would say even better than Wario Land or Jack Bros. Dragon Hopper plays with the perspective similar to Jack Bros, but gives you so much freedom and actually feels like a 3D platformer in a lot of ways. You may think that playing from a top-down perspective and jumping up the platforms that you can't see from the ground is jarring, but it's actually implemented very well, and it's excellently designed. It's actually pretty addicting. Since I was laying on my bed with the headset on, playing it for over an hour, I just kept going through these stages and wanting to play more. And there's also a big emphasis on exploration, since there are some collectibles to find throughout the different stages. But what if I told you that this game might have actually paved the way to a certain iconic RPG spin-off series featuring a paper-thin Italian plumber? Since this game was actually directed and designed by the director of the first 3 Paper Mario games, Ryota Kawade. This was actually the first game that he ever directed, and was the only game outside of the Paper Mario series that he directed. Not only that, the programmers Mitsuru Matsumoto and Karo Kita have had major roles throughout the series, with the latter being an assistant director for both Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario. But as I was playing this game, I could definitely notice some elements that were kind of similar to the Paper Mario series. It might have inspired some of the elements. And even if some of these were likely inspired by Zelda and Super Metroid, the way this game contextualizes these elements feels reminiscent of Paper Mario. You have 2 different types of attacks, an on-ground attack and a jump attack, comparable to the boots and hammer, and even with an ability that you get later in the game, with the Ice Dragon, you kind of stand in place and you have an ice breath, almost kind of similar to how Bowser has his fire breath in Super Paper Mario, and then you also have like a fire ability as well as like one of the other transformations. The game has a perspective gimmick, with the platforms floating in 3D, similar to how the Paper Mario series' visual identity centers around 2D sprites in a 3D environment, or Super Paper Mario, allowing you to flip between 2D and 3D. And the magical abilities are cards that are equipped like badges. You can only equip one at a time, but the way that you have a limited amount of slots and you have a lot available to you kind of makes it seem like badges in a way. They also function similarly to both the partner abilities and the special moves in battle. And the first one that you get even restores your HP, similar to Recover or Sweet Treat. And the star medals that you collect in each of the levels kind of function like star pieces, and you use them to buy those cards. There are also transformations that work similarly to the curses in Thousand Year Door, and are unlocked in a similar way to both the curses in Thousand Year Door and the pixels in Super Paper Mario. You also swap between the transformations similarly to the partners, and these transformations allow you to progress, and the barriers blend into the environment, like some can be covered in ice, or you can also use the water to kind of build an ice bridge. And there are also mini-games that make use of your abilities, similar to Thousand Year Door. The first one in particular, where you have to land on the target, is literally just playing game from Pianta Parlor. And the UI is also similar to the early UI for Paper Mario 64, back when it was known as Super Mario RPG 2, since there are individual hearts representing HP and individual FP or magic points. And finally, this game is kind of a hybrid between genres, having both platforming, action RPG, and action-adventure elements, similar to how Paper Mario games generally have turn-based RPG, action RPG, platforming, and action-adventure elements, some more than others depending on the Paper Mario game, since Paper Mario definitely mixed things up throughout the years. So, I can see quite a bit of Paper Mario DNA in Dragon Hopper, and it makes sense why a lot of Zelda-esque design elements ended up in the Paper Mario series. And this game was cancelled roughly several months before Paper Mario 64 started development at Intelligent Systems, so it makes sense why this development team would have been ready to take the lead on that project around that time. Honestly, if it wasn't for this game, I feel like Paper Mario wouldn't have existed in the same way that it does now, because of the fact that Nintendo and Intelligent Systems could have seen Kawade's potential here. The stars kind of aligned, with these key developers being available at just the right time, as well as Nintendo assigning Super Mario RPG 2 to Intelligent Systems, when Square declined the offer. This just goes to show how interesting the history of the Mario RPGs are. It spans across multiple different development teams and different series that went on to somewhat serve as these games' roots. But anyways, I absolutely love Dragon Hopper, and I definitely recommend checking it out, in whatever method you prefer to play it in. It's just a miracle that this game is finally available, and I really hope Nintendo does this with more games that were basically complete but cancelled, like Sound Fantasy on the SNES, or the GameCube version of Super Paper Mario, even though it would probably be very similar to the Wii version, just with different controls and slightly different sprites. But anyways, let me know what you think of Dragon Hopper down in the comments. And thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!